Had a session at the BCS Elite Group, the IT Directors Group, and it was all around, what are the problems that CIOs face at the moment. And one of the big ones that seemed to come out from the group was around communication and communicating with the business. That seemed to be the biggest issue, the biggest problem that we're finding. How do you approach that? What's the advice you would give to CIOs in dealing with that?
I think one of my number one responsibilities is to be a storyteller. And I think that story is, it's about being transparent and offering stories in a way where you're just telling the truth, and stories in a way that simplify technical things and put them into everyday business language. I think there's something about the regularity of communication. How often are you telling these stories? Are people aware of what the IT function is doing, how it's trying to do it, what its priorities and challenges are?
Right.
And I know I've taken some of our executives to some of our operations centres and shown them some of the tools that we're using, and they never fail to be amazed at actually what it takes to run an IT function these days.
Right.
So I have not found, so communication, I mean, if we just put it into buckets, I think communication with the senior stakeholders, I don't really struggle with. I think I do a reasonable job with my storytelling there. Telling stories to our broader organisation and our broader firm.
To the business.
Yes, to business people. That is something that is a challenge. And I think when you set out, for example, at the start of the year to say to people, here are all the things that we're going to do for you this year. IT programs tend to be unpredictable for lots of reasons. You may have a vendor challenge, you get delays, you get other priorities. And the last thing you want is people saying, where is that thing that you promised me in February? But at the same time, you want to be held to account for delivering the things that they need to make their lives more simple. Also, lots of people they find it difficult to separate the IT alerts they get about, say, maintenance and operations versus the IT information they receive about new projects and new functionality. And lots of it is if I talk to our end business users, it's just a big blur, lots of it to them, and they don't want to read it. They want it to be kind of context relevant and delivered to them at exactly the right moment, and therefore just sending an email is not good enough.
Yes.
So we were trying to think of other ways of engaging with people, and lots of that's about trying to get people face to face. That they have.
But the GDPR change, I mean, the difference between what we have now and what the GDPR with the 4% of global revenues does raise the ante somewhat, doesn't it?
It raises the ante, and I think what it's helped do is it's helped alert more senior figures in organisations.
Right,
so
business figures.
All of us, exactly. So all of a sudden, if you were struggling to get the attention of this subject within your executive or your risk committee, you've now got no problems at all, because the threat of the fine is real, and therefore but you made the point earlier, it's a call to arms. What are you going to do? When are you going to do it?
So does that help the role of the CIO? Is that going to help us, in what we're trying to do in organisations?
I think it will help get some investment around how we store our data. Certainly some of our metadata and our tagging and those kind of things, I think will have to improve. It may also, lots of organisations really struggle with the question of, when do I delete information?
Oh, yes.
And you want to hold on to something.
The 7-year rule.
For as long as you might need to. But of course, it's quite difficult as a CIO to just go across your whole organisation and say, right, on any particular day, what needs to be deleted? There may be reasons why you have to keep certain things, or why certain things are important, and things that are under, in our business, for example, we might be working with regulators or investigations for things that have been going on for many, many years. And if I were to turn around and delete that information, it would be extremely problematic.
But on the other hand, for public sector organisations with freedom of information, requests, etc., there is there is an objective, in fact, not keeping stuff for too long.
And having tight time frames. So getting that into being able to educate some of our stakeholders around what do we do with our data when it gets to a certain age, that will be helpful, a helpful part of GDPR.
Security getting easier, more difficult?
security is one of those things that I think as an industry, we've missed a trick on. And I think I look at things like, take the television. So 10 years ago, I still had a big CRT TV in my house. I then moved to a much slimmer, thick bezel, but thinner screen. Now I've got a TV that has virtually no bezel at all, has wonderful picture, you've got ultra high definition being projected to it. And you think if we'd put the same effort into solving some of the security challenges as we've put into some of the nice hardware that's being developed, security would have come on a long way.
It's not the money in it, that's the problem though.
No, I don't think there's any shortage of products, but those products just, to our end users, they add red tape, they add complexity, and again, it's complexity that they don't have at home. They just have this in their business lives, and they see that that's a problem. And somebody once left a blank postcard on my desk with a post-it note attached to it saying, please fill this postcard in explaining the benefit of two-factor authentication.